At Thanksgiving, my sister told me I was no longer family, but she didn't know that I'd been keeping records of every penny I gave them. At Thanksgiving dinner, my sister stood up and said, "We voted, and you are no longer family." Everyone rejoiced. I laughed quietly and added, "Then I guess you won't need this." I set a folder on the table. The moment she opened it, she screamed. "Before we carve the turkey," Tiffany began, standing from her chair with that smug, practiced smile, "there's something we need to say." Everyone became silent. Forks stopped in mid-air. My stomach constricted. I recognized that tone. It was the same one Mom used to ground me at 14 for a party I didn't even attend. "We had a family vote," she explained, looking around at everyone like a pageant queen about to be crowned. "And we've decided you're no longer family." There was silence, followed by cheers. My cousin Laura applauded as if she were at a concert. Uncle Dylan raised his wine glass in toast. Even my own mother chuckled, saying, "Well, someone had to say it." I sat there paralyzed, staring at the plate. The stuffing had cooled, but my blood was boiling. My father didn't even look at me. He simply sipped his beer and murmured, "It's probably for the best." "Wow," I murmured, carefully pushing back my chair. "You guys rehearsed this," Tiffany said, her smile widening. "You've been toxic for years. We're just finally done pretending. You're not family," my mother added, reaching for the cranberry sauce as if we were talking about the weather. "It's unanimous." I looked around. Nobody spoke up, not one person. "Good," I replied gently. Then I reached into my backpack. "I expected this to happen," I explained, drawing out a big folder and carefully setting it in the center of the table. The sound it made, clunk, broke through the laughing. Tiffany blinked. "What is that?" I inquired, leaning back in my chair and folding my arms. "Why don't you find out?" She grabbed it and ripped it open. Her mouth was already twisted into that snarky little sneer she always had when she believed she was winning. She turned the first page and stopped smiling. Her face became pallid. Her gaze scanned the next page and the next. Then she screamed, as in a blood-curdling horror movie scream. Her chair smashed behind her, and she jumped upright, slamming the folder close as if it had burned her hands. "You monster," she exclaimed. "You messed up, twisted weirdo." Gasps resonated throughout the table. Joel, her husband, grabbed the folder and opened it. Then, his mouth fell. He looked at me. "Is this?" I nodded briefly. "It's all real," I said. Every word, receipt, and screenshot. The table went silent. You could hear a fork clink in the kitchen. My mother's mouth opened and closed, like a fish struggling for oxygen. "You were so sure I wouldn't fight back," I murmured, carefully getting up. "I was sure I'd be the quiet one, the doormat, the cash cow. But guess what?" I leaned forward and stared Tiffany dead in the eye. "Your little show, it's over. You want to know what was within the folder? I will get there. But first, let me explain how we got here." Tiffany did not wake up one day and realize I wasn't her family. That conclusion was made over many years. Brick by brick, comment by comment, betrayal after treachery. I was never their favorite, not even close. Tiffany was the star, the golden girl with high grades, a huge grin, and the ability to command attention. She could lie directly to someone's face and have them appreciate her for it. I, on the other hand, remained quiet and secluded. They despised the fact that I did not require any attention. They saw my quiet as weakness. I moved out at 19, paid for college alone, had 2 jobs, and never sought assistance. Meanwhile, Tiffany dropped out of 2 majors, traveled to Europe to discover herself, and returned home to marry Joel, the human equivalent of a LinkedIn profile in a blazer. I covered half of the wedding costs. My parents couldn't afford it, but they managed to book a 2-week trip shortly after. I did not complain. I never did. Even when they joked that I was the family accountant, I continued to assist, paying for Dad's dental treatment and sending money when Mom reported the heat payment was past due, even financing a portion of my cousin Laura's tuition when she was waitlisted for a scholarship. They always replied, "Thank you," but in that tone. The one who remarked, "Well, of course you'd help. You don't have a family of your own." And perhaps that's what happened. See, I am single, no children, no husband, and no drama. It's just myself, my work, and my dog. And in their minds, that meant I had nothing better to do than subsidize their disasters. Tiffany treated me like I was her own failsafe. When Joel lost his job, she contacted me first. Just a small loan. When her car broke down, you make 6 figures. What's 2 grand? When her child required therapy and insurance wouldn't pay for it. Yeah. Guess who she called? I was always helpful. Always. Because I convinced myself it was family. But assistance turned into obligation, then expectation, and finally demand. It began with little backhanded jokes over dinner. Oh, you brought wine. Must be nice to afford good wine. Of course, you're early. You have no kids to worry about. I wish I could work late every night and avoid my husband too. Eventually it became worse. You're so cold. Maybe that's why you're still alone. You don't understand real stress. You don't have a real life. You're just bitter that no one needs you. Except they needed me regularly, financially, quietly, and behind closed doors. Then came the text. Tiffany, hey, can you co-sign for a small business loan? Joel and I want to start a wellness cafe. Yup. Number Tiffany? Wow, really? Then there was stillness. That was 3 months ago. Since then, I've received the cold shoulder. Mom stopped phoning. Dad sent one-word responses. Nobody invited me to the last family meal. Tiffany blocked me on social media after sharing a story on avoiding toxic individuals. But I didn't sulk. Instead, I began pulling physical receipts. I preserve records of financial transfers, emails, screenshots, and dates. I am not stupid. And in the last 5 years alone, I've sent more than $78,000 to various family members. $78,000. $8,000 for Joel's rehabilitation. $2,300 for Tiffany's emergency dental work, which turned out to be elective veneers. $1,500 for my father's back surgery. $12,000 for my mother's credit card debt. $6,000 for Laura's college move-in expenses. And $4,500 for a family emergency that turned out to be a trip to Cabo. And none of them offered to pay me back. They simply took. And when I stopped providing, they concluded I was the problem. So, I created the folder. Every transfer confirmation, every email and text request for money, screenshots of Tiffany calling me manipulative to her friend because I declined the loan, a timeline of every major payment I made in the last 5 years, and, to top it off, copies of Facebook and Instagram posts mocking me. I have screenshots of Tiffany calling me a cash cow with no spine in a private comment thread that she was unaware I had access to. So, indeed, that is what she saw when she opened the folder. That's what made her scream. Tiffany hadn't simply been exposed. She was taken apart, fact by fact, line by line, page by page. Meanwhile, the rest of the family discovered what they had done. My mother looked like she was about to faint. Joel looked at the line that said $4,200 to cover Tiffany's credit card used at a hotel in Santa Monica with someone named Alyssa, and simply said, "What is this?" I didn't respond. I didn't need to, since, for the first time, I wasn't defending myself. I was simply showing them the truth. You kept records? My mother finally asked, her voice trembling. Of everything. I turned to her, calm as always. You never remembered, so someone had to. Tiffany was still standing, pallid, with her fists clenched at her sides. Her gaze flashed to Joel, myself, and the folder. This is a violation, she said. You had no right to, she exclaimed. No, right? I replied, carefully rising up. You just stood in front of this whole family and declared me not family. You all clapped. And now you're upset that I came prepared? Joel turned another page in the folder. What's this about Santa Monica? He inquired, his tone tense. Tiffany's head snapped toward him. Don't start. Who's Alyssa? He inquired. Why were you staying at a hotel for 3 nights on my credit card? Her silence said louder than any response. Wait, my mother interrupted, holding her palms up. Can we all just calm down and be reasonable? Sure, I replied. Let's be reasonable. Let's talk about the time you called me a parasite while cashing the check I sent you. She hadn't noticed. That's not fair. We were under stress. No, I snapped. You were under stress, and I bailed you out. Every single time, and the one time I say no, suddenly I'm the enemy. My father, who had remained completely silent until now spoke up. You're making this into something bigger than it is. I looked at him, and my voice fell. You let them do this to me for years. You knew, you saw it, you heard it, and you let it happen because it was easier than standing up to them. He wasn't lying. Tiffany slapped her hand into the table. You're just bitter because no one needs you anymore. Wrong, I replied bitterly. I'm not bitter, I'm done. She gave a sour laugh. You're pathetic. Do you know how dramatic this all looks? Bringing a folder, printing screenshots? You think this makes you the victim? You're just proving you're a control freak. And you're just proving, he replied, that you only cared about me when I was paying your bills. You don't get to play the martyr, she yelled. You chose to help. You didn't have to. And yet somehow, I said as I approached, you expected it every single time until it didn't help anymore. It was duty. And when I stopped, you voted me out. My voice cracked, not from grief, but from wrath. You didn't want a brother. You wanted a wallet with legs. Joel stood up, holding the packet. Is this true? He inquired, glancing at Tiffany. All of this. Tiffany glanced at him, and for the first time she had no response. There are no artificial tears or deflections, only quiet. You lied to me, he stated. About the hotel, about the money, about him. You made it sound like he was crazy. I had to, she exclaimed. He was turning everyone against me. I wasn't, I said. You did that all by yourself. The room became quiet again. Then my mother leaned forward and tried again. Her voice softened. Listen, honey. We may have overreacted, but this is still family, and families fight. Let's just put this behind us. I shut her off. You're not hearing me. She blinked. What? I'm not asking for peace. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm telling you, I'm done. Tiffany scoffed. Oh, stop pretending like this is some big moment. You've said that before. I looked her dead in the eye. Not like this. I reached into my coat pocket and took out another envelope. What now? My father inquired, obviously fatigued. I tossed it on the table. Joel snatched it before it slid away. He opened it and read the first line. His eyes expanded. What is this? He murmured. I answered him. Power of attorney forms for mom, revoked. Medical proxy revoked. Emergency contact removed. I've already signed the papers. My mother gave a gasp. You're cutting ties completely? Completely? I inquired. Starting now. You're being selfish, she replied, tears welling up in her eyes. We made mistakes, but we're still your family. When I turned to her, my voice sank again, calm and definitive. No, you're not. I grabbed my coat, gave them one final glance and walked out the door, leaving them astonished and dumbfounded in the midst of Thanksgiving dinner, surrounded by cold food and awful truths. I walked out and did not look back, not because it wasn't painful, it did. But as I closed the door behind me and stepped off their porch into the cold night air, something inside me changed. I could finally breathe after years. I didn't drive directly home. I drove off the road near a lake I used to visit as a child, where my father would take me fishing. I sat there in peace, staring out at the still lake, and experienced something I hadn't felt in a long time. Nothing drew me in, no guilt, no pressure, no one waiting for a check, a ride, or a favor, just silence. The next morning was silent. The following day, nothing happened. But on the third day, the texts began. My mother first received a missed call, followed by another, and then a voicemail. You really mean it? We were angry, but we're still your family. I didn't react. Tiffany then sent text messages. You don't even realize what you've done. Joel's filing for divorce. Are you happy? Something is really wrong with you. My dad responded, you went too far. We all said things we regret, but what you did was nuclear. Your mother is a wreck. Come fix this. I did not respond to any of them, and honestly, I expected to feel guilty. I imagined myself tossing and turning at night, wondering if I had gone too far. Instead, I had the best sleep I'd had in years. There was no more second-guessing each text. Stop waiting for the other shoe to drop. No more late-night Venmo solicitations or guilt trips posing as emergencies. For the first time in a decade, I could hear myself thinking. I began waking up early, going on runs, and brewing coffee slowly. I made appointments that I had put off for years, dentists, doctors, and even therapists, not because I was broken, but because I could finally take care of myself. I rewrote my emergency contacts. I removed my parents. I changed my passwords, froze all joint accounts they had access to. I blocked Tiffany on all platforms. It wasn't about vengeance anymore, it was about coming to a close. A week after Thanksgiving, I received a text from my cousin Laura, who clapped when they voted me out. "I didn't know you paid for my tuition. I'm sorry. I followed the crowd. You were always the one who actually helped." I did not respond, although I read it twice. Then, another surprise. A message from Joel. I filed the papers. Everything in that folder checked out. She cheated, lied, manipulated. Not just you, me too. He continued. "You did the right thing. I should have left sooner. I didn't expect that, but it happened. A few days later, I did something I hadn't done for years. I applied for a job in a different city. Not because I was fleeing, but because I was finally liberated. No more. You should stay close to home. No longer. Who will take care of them if you leave?" I began reconnecting with friends I had not seen in years. People I'd withdrawn from since I was always preoccupied with family matters. The strangest aspect was that several of them had seen my Reddit post. They just said, "We're proud of you." That was brave. Nobody asked for money. Nobody guilt-tripped me. Nobody tried to spin it. Simply support. Simple, honest, and clean. Someone asked me, "Don't you regret it?" I paused for a moment and replied, "I only regret not doing it sooner." I assumed that was it. In a way, it was. But with people like them, nothing ever goes smoothly, especially when they begin to feel the implications of your absence. The first few weeks after Thanksgiving were unusually quiet. No calls, no guilt, only calm until Christmas. On December 22nd, I received an SMS from my mother with a picture. It was their living room, complete with stockings, a half-decorated tree, and a large empty space in the center where they always put the presents. "It doesn't feel the same without you," the caption read. "Ellie keeps asking why Uncle isn't coming this year." I stared at it for quite a while. No apologies, no ownership, just the same manipulative tone. "Look what you've done. Look who you're hurting." I didn't respond. Tiffany tried phoning on December 23rd. I let it ring out. She then sent a message. "I know I messed up, but you don't have to punish everyone. Just come by for Ellie. She misses you." 2 minutes passed. "Also, Mom and Dad are behind on their mortgage. I know you don't care anymore, but the bank called today. I thought you'd want to know." There it was. The request. Always. Wrapped in a cloak of guilt. It was always coated in artificial softness, but it always ended the same way. With a request. I blocked that number. December 24th. Another text, this one from Dad. "You made your point. We get it. But enough is enough. We need help. We're still your blood." That night, I sat alone by the fireplace, drinking a glass of wine. I gazed around my tiny apartment. There was no tree or noise, just me and the solitude that they said would ruin me. And for the first time in my life, I felt grateful for the silence. But it did not end there. In January, I received a phone call from an unfamiliar number. I took it up out of habit. "Is this Daniel?" A man's voice inquired. "Yes? Who's calling?" "My name is Mark," he answered. "I'm calling on behalf of your father. He mentioned you're the primary executive of the family trust." I froze. "I removed the job 2 months ago," I responded. "It was finalized by the family attorney. My name is off everything." The man stopped. "I see. Your father said he couldn't reach you directly and asked me to explore options there. They're in a bit of a bind." Of course they were. Tiffany and my parents had run out of choices. The ATM was closed. The safety net was gone. They are now striving to be inventive. I hung up without saying another thing. But the last straw came in February. I received an envelope in the mail, handwritten. There was no return address, but I immediately recognized my mother's handwriting. Inside was a 3-page letter. The first page was all about regrets. "We said things in fury. You have always been the strong one. We never understood how much we relied on you." The second page changed to remorse. "Your father's health is not good. Tiffany is utterly alone now. We're concerned about Ellie. She's struggling." And the third page was the hook. "We are selling the house, but we are underwater on our mortgage. We only need a little aid to get through this. Then we won't ask again. Please, Daniel, do this for your father. Do it for the family." I sat with the letter for a long time, allowing myself to experience everything they wanted me to feel. The weight of responsibility, the pain of obligation, and the desperate need to repair what was damaged. Then I folded the letter, got up, went to the kitchen, and threw it away. The truth is that they weren't asking for assistance. They were requesting access again. They did not want me back in the family. They wanted the version of me who refused to say no, the person who paid quietly, sacrificed quietly, and suffered silently. But that version of me is no longer here. I'm no longer their scapegoat. I am not their golden goose. I'm not the duct tape that keeps a broken house together. I am finished. And the scariest part for them? I'm doing okay without them. I obtained a new job, relocated to a new location, a larger space, and a fresh start. I began helping on weekends, not because anyone needed me, but because I wanted to. I created a life in which no one contacts me at 11 p.m. to cover up a mistake they refuse to admit, where I'm not punished for being independent, and where kindness is not exploited as a bargaining chip. I don't regret aiding them, but I do regret taking so long to stop. You want to know what true tranquility feels like? It's not about being surrounded by family. It means being rid of those who only refer to you as family when they need something. Update. Some months later. I didn't expect this post to attract attention. Honestly, I simply needed to express it someplace, but I read every single remark. Thank you to those who stated, "You were brave, and they don't deserve you." I had no idea how much I needed to hear that until I actually did. And a few people asked, but what if they still change? I've also asked myself that question. It's been several months now. They did not change. After I cut them off, after the folder, after the yelling, stillness, and letters, I hoped that someone would get it, that they would reflect. They didn't say, "We're sorry." They became quiet for a bit. Then they became strategic. Then they became desperate. Then they turned nasty again. What about me? I became free. Since then, I've moved. I have a job that does not keep me up at night. I started therapy. Real therapy. The kind when you stop attempting to fix everyone else and instead learn to sit with yourself. I cook for myself now. I sleep better. I go outside more. I don't flinch when the phone rings. And yes, I do think about Ellie, what she's being taught, and what she'll grow up believing is normal. But I also know this. I am an example of someone who has finally had enough. A few days ago, I received another handwritten note from my mom. It was 3 words. We are still family. There is no context, apology, or change, just the same old hook. And for the first time, I felt nothing. There is no rage or despair, just nothing. I threw it away and prepared dinner. So I'm returning here because this place provided me with unexpected insight. Strangers saw me more clearly than my own blood ever could. So this is what I'd want to ask. Did I do the correct thing? Cutting them off, lowering the weight, and saying no with conviction. Was I overly cold? Or was I finally tired of being the only one who could keep everything going? I do not know. But I know this. For the first time in my life, I am not surviving. I am living. Thank you for reading. Still listening.